5 reasons to wear a mask when you ride. Now before we get into those reasons, let's go over the kinds of masks I'm talking about. The first one, which is your entry-level kind of mask, is the one I'm wearing right now. It's an N95 mask with the respirator valve, okay? Now the respirator valve will help you exhale easier, which is really good when you're exercising, like riding a bike, okay? You can get these in a 2-pack for like $6, and you can just keep using them until they get dirty. And you can tell when they get dirty because they'll just smell bad and they'll look gross, okay? Second kind of mask I'm going to be talking about is your paint odor reduction mask, okay? Now, these work pretty good for cutting down on the pollution you inhale because they have carbon, activated carbon in them. They're R95 approved. This is a 3M. These are a little more expensive. For $6, instead of getting 2, you just get 1, okay? But they take out more pollutants, except I haven't found these kinds of a respirator valve, so it's going to be a little harder to breathe really hard in this kind of mask. And the third kind of mask is a purpose-specific mask, and the biggest brand that makes those that are specifically for cutting down pollutants when you exercise is Respro, okay? Now they mainly sell their product in places like London or Asia, Europe and Asia, places where there's much more pollution. They're starting to get a little more popular in like places like LA and New York where the pollution's a little more bad. I don't have one of these Respro masks specifically, but they pretty much look like this, and they have valves on them, and they pretty much use one of these, okay? I mean, from the reviews I've looked at, it's not much different than if you were to take one of these neoprene sport masks and just add a carbon filter, except they have the valves that make it easier to exhale. If you want to see a review of a Respro mask, just search it in. They've already been done. Just search in Respro review on YouTube or whatever. I have links in the description for their website and some other things. So let's just jump in to the reasons why you should wear a mask. Number 1, should be pretty obvious. Air pollution, okay? Now, the bike lane is right next to where the cars are blasting their exhaust. So, you're gonna, us cyclists, we're constantly being bombarded with that kind of pollution. It's in the air in general, okay? There's like planes overhead and they're doing their thing, and there's industrial places, and there's all kinds of just ambient pollution depending on where you are. But then you have the bike lane, which is right next to where the cars are blasting their exhaust, okay? And it's really bad to be breathing that stuff in when you're exercising. Like, I'll see some cyclists and they're just doing really hardcore cycling, and there's all this traffic and they're just breathing this stuff in. It's bad. There's links in the description to some articles about how bad that is for you to do, okay? The masks also help block out things like germs and other kinds of, basic pollutants. Now, the masks like this one and this one, and even if you're just wearing a bandana, that helps a little bit, but those things aren't going to block out all the pollution. They do help, okay? I definitely notice a difference just even wearing this. I literally feel happier and healthier, and it's not just some placebo thing. I can tell my body is I can tell that the air is a little cleaner, and that definitely helps. Now, if you don't have an e-bike and you're riding really hard, these might get really frustrating because you're not going to be able to breathe as easy necessarily. With an e-bike, you can, if you're in a really busy trafficy area, you can just turn up your assist and you don't have to exert so much. And then when you're in a nicer, side street where there's trees, you can turn your assist down and exert yourself more. And then you can take your mask down, okay? It's pretty simple. Now in the articles I've linked below, they say, well, just go riding at a different time, just take all these side streets. But I'm the kind of cyclist that, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go riding when I want, where I want. I'm not going to go out of my way, go extra distance. Us cyclists, it takes us long enough to get to where we're going without taking all these goofy detours. And then they're like, oh, take extra detours to avoid all this pollution. That wastes my time. I don't always want to do that kind of thing. I don't always have time to do that. So that's the first reason why you should wear a mask. Number 2, extreme weather. Okay? Cold air is more harsh on your lungs than warm air. And especially when that cold air has pollution. But these masks, they have other masks like this neoprene one. They help keep the cold air. They help warm the air. They help insulate everything around your face so it's not so cold. And that cold air will make your nose run. It's just a lot better for you if it's really cold out to have a mask to help insulate your face. Okay? Another kind of extreme weather is rain. Okay? When it's raining, you'll get this rain dripping down into your mouth and stuff when you're riding. Rain can have pollutants in it. It can be acidic. It can have germs in it. That's why they tell you not to drink rainwater, is because it has germs in it and stuff and all this other stuff. You don't necessarily want that rainwater dripping down into your mouth and all that. So that's another reason to wear a mask, is because of extreme weather conditions you can encounter. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3 is bugs. Okay? Now you might not have a huge problem with bugs where you are, but I occasionally will ride through the park and there'll just be these huge swarms of gnats and mosquitoes. I've almost swallowed a bee before, okay? You don't want to swallow a bee, man. That's like, you don't want to get stung in the mouth. I've never had that happen to me, but I imagine that it would suck. Okay, so that's kind of kind of an odd thing to think about, but yeah, it helps block bugs from going into your nose and going into your mouth. I mean, I assume most people don't want to be eating gnats and mosquitoes and all that. So that's number 3, is to stop the bugs. Number 4, pollen and allergens and things like that. If it's springtime, there's a lot of people that are allergic to things. These carbon masks, like this 3M, they say on it that they'll block, allergens and, things like pollen and that. So if you're allergic to things and you don't want to go bike riding because of all that, that's another reason to wear a mask, is it helps block out allergens, things like plant pollen and things like that. That's number 4. And finally, number 5, and this is kind of a personal opinion of mine. Okay, you might not agree with it, but I feel like wearing a mask, it just makes you look more badass. Okay? I've heard some people say they don't want to wear a mask because they think they look weird, or they look like they're trying to be like frickin' Batman or something. Okay? I don't think that's a bad thing, I think a lot of cyclists, there's a lot of asshole drivers that will want to throw things at you, okay? You might not have ever encountered this, but they are out there. And if you wear a mask and you're hiding your facial expression, you look a little more intimidating, okay? If there's a guy with a mask and then a guy without a mask, the guy without the mask is probably more likely to get, a slushie with spit thrown on him, okay? And even if you do still get a slushie thrown of spit on you, if you're wearing a mask, at least it's not going to go in your mouth and your nose or whatever, okay? So that's another reason to wear a mask. It makes you look more badass, okay? Especially if you have one of those bandana ones over, you can have one of these, basic kind of Home Depot, or, you can get these masks at Home Depot, although these really basic, just doing home improvement and all that. You can have one of those bandanas with the skull face on them over top of that. And you look like, you look like you mean business. You don't look like somebody that somebody's going to want to screw around with as much. And I think that's a good thing. So that concludes the 5 reasons you should wear a mask when you ride. And if you want more information about this subject, there's links in the description. You can help me out by subscribing, liking, sharing. You can leave a comment or a question. Ride hard, ride safe, and keep building.